Welcome to this week's tour of the CIOPCC. We're going to do a collection that's one of my favorites. It's not really a collection in the sense of a single series or a single company, but I consider it a collection. It is my horror 6th scale figures. So it covers a bunch of different lines, a bunch of different companies, and about 200 figures all together down here in the orange section. So let's start with this row. Let's start with a nice Invisible Man from Sideshow and move quickly into the Evil Dead. Of course, the Nun is a lot more modern. And then we get into something a lot older with the Creature from the Black Lagoon. That happens to be the Mondo version there. Another Evil Dead. Ash. Willow's hanging out here, keeping everybody honest. Metaluna Mutant, one of the great costume designs. The Fly. And a couple more of the creatures. The Sun at the end there is the Sideshow version. Now, I don't buy a lot of Barbies, but if you're going to do a cool Birds Barbie, you know I'm going to get that. Those are the 3 Zero figures, both the Pinhead and Chainsaw Massacre. And here we have some nice Freddys. The first one is, of course, the newest Freddy that Sideshow's done. And the one on next to him there is the very first Sideshow Freddy on the furnace diorama that they put together. And Sideshow has given us quite a few different versions of Freddy. It's one of the great things about Sideshow. Complain about them if you will, but they gave us lots of versions of a character instead of just one. It's a few Michaels. To drive that point home, here's all the Sideshow Jasons, covering almost all the movies, all the way back to the very beginning with his dear mom, Pammy. That last Jason is their most recent that they've done. A couple of more Leatherfaces from Texas Chainsaw Massacre. And we'll move down to this shelf. We got the Crow. I consider him horror, and he's Hot Toys. One of the few Hot Toys figures you're going to see on these shelves. And then we have some Underworld, and we start to slide right on into vampire stuff. Which, of course, the Van Helsings count as vampire stuff. Renfield. Some Christopher Lee vampires. You can't have a vampire display without the granddaddy of them all, Vlad, who's in back there, as well as Barnabas Collins. There's an angel. Now, you'll see some more Buffy and Angel stuff in a minute, but had to have an angel up here with the vampires. Some various werewolf themed figures, and then we get into Frankenstein, starting with the monsters and Igor, and moving into, that's Nosferatu in the back there, moving into a whole bunch of Frankensteins. That, again, Sideshow did just about every actor that played Frankenstein in the old Universal movies. Oh, there's a Bela Lugosi there in the back. Dracula, that's the one that Sideshow gave out as a Christmas gift. He's in red pajamas. A few more of the Universal monsters they did. And Buffy's keeping them all honest on this shelf. Horror from Party Beach. I love these old 1960s characters. I was a teenage werewolf. I was a teenage Frankenstein. That stuff is great. I wish somebody would start doing more of that. Down over here we have the Buffy that I mentioned. The 2 gentlemen in back, as well as the one that's loose in front. Again, Sideshow did everybody. Now that some of these characters, figures are not up to the quality of modern 6 scale action figures, but a lot of them are not bad. The Master back there is terrific. And down here we've got a couple of Vincent Price, Jeepers Creepers. On the floor down here, we have a few box ones. We have some of the silver screen, black and white, Universal monsters, as well as the variants. Every one of those, well, not every one, but a lot of the Buffy and Angel figures had a variant that Sideshow did. They also did variants for the Deadline, which are boxed down here, and you're going to see a whole bunch of those right up here on this shelf. This is kind of the zombie shelf. The dead figure there in the corner, that's patient 0. You can see Rick is seriously considering putting down Michael Jackson, while the other Rick has already put the priest down. So we move around. We have a all-out battle going on here. As I said, those were variants down on the floor, like this doctor zombie here. He came in blue scrubs as well as green. Sideshow did that quite a bit with that line. And of course, 3-0 has been doing the Walking Dead figures, so they all go together nicely. And there's a Supernatural, another Evil Dead, Ash back there as well. And there's a couple of zombies from some other companies. Crow wasn't the only Hot Toys, I guess. We have both It, Pennywise, and I think Sweeney Todd counts, don't you? I certainly think so. So let's come around this side and see the rest of the zombie shelf. First, it starts with a nice display of sort of the mad scientist, including the Johnny Depp that Hot Toys did for Sleepy Hollow. And then it gets into the backside of the zombies, including some from Night of the Living Dead, if you're paying attention. And a couple from Shaun of the Dead. So that's pretty much the 6th scale horror line. It's quite a few figures. As I said, almost 200. Takes up a couple of shelves on the wall as well as a shelf in the center. Let me know if you have any questions. Have a great one.